Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. If you like the video, please comment and share it. Today, we're going to highlight an NFL legend, Mr. James Harris, by way of Grambling State University, NFL legend, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams and the Buffalo Bills. That's who we're going to discuss this morning. If you like the video, please comment and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today, an esteemed Grambling State alumnus, president of the Atlanta chapter here in Atlanta, Georgia, Mrs. Aisha Cooper, is going to be breaking down James Harris with me today. So, if you like the video, please comment and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. How you doing this morning, Miss Cooper?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing, Mr. Turner?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic this morning. Been kind of a rough weekend, but I made it. A glorious day. It's sunny outside here in the metro Atlanta area because we've been having rain off and on. But let's talk about one of your famous alum that you know personally, a young man that came into the National Football League in 1969 out of your pristine college, Grambling State University, James Harris. So what did you find interesting about Mr. Harris' career?
You know, it's what I don't see in his career that most intrigues me. He is not just a pioneer on and off the field in the position of quarterback, but what I don't see in his career are the accolades of being inducted to the National Hall of Fame, National Football Hall of Fame. And I find that odd considering all that he has done for the National Football League as well as the American Football League. And you know, considering some of the recent inductions there have been to the Professional Football Hall of Fame, I just find it very perplexing, I think is a good word, as to why Mr. Harris has not been inducted with all of the accolades and the firsts that accompany him in the historical aspects of his career on and off the field. You know, as the first Black quarterback to start in a game, to win a postseason game, Pro Bowl, an MVP. How is it he's not been inducted? So I think that that's something I would love to see change in the coming future, but I think it's something I think he's definitely earned as the legend and the pioneer that he is in his career.
The thing about James Harris' career is that if you go back to the 60s and you look where the National Football League was going, there wasn't a lot of African-American quarterbacks. And I'm going to tell you, when I first heard of James Harris, I was 8 years old, going to the fourth grade. Morgan State playing Grambling in that classic in Yankee Stadium before 60,000 on Wild World of Sports. Even though Grambling didn't win that football game, but I saw a young man's skill set that I said, hey, you know what? Coming from an African-American school, this guy's got a chance to play at a high level in the National Football League. And one thing that I liked about Mr. Harris is that when I saw him with his ability out there on the field, I saw a skill set that had respect, A+, the ability to lead, A+, the toughness to go up there and play as he got drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 8th round in the 1969 draft, in the same draft class with O.J. Simpson. Then the ability to elevate the play of his other teammates, even though Grambling lost that game. But that's when I came to know James Harris. And then they had a pretty good receiver on the other side in Charlie Joyner. So looking at him, that's when I kind of said, you know what? The position is going to start changing a little bit. Yeah. Coming back to you, how has his accomplishments, and you talked about it just a few minutes ago, how has his accomplishments have changed the NFL?
Well, I think he's changed the NFL's. He was the pioneer, the person to initially change the NFL's thoughts on having a quarterback that was Black and leading your team. And without him holding that role with such dignity and respect, as you just mentioned, and at such a high level and maintaining that's what opened the door to the Doug Williams, to the Warren Moons, to the, even now currently to, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Without Mr. Harris's contributions and his dignity and his resiliency to not just stand in that position, but fight for it and to do it well and to earn accolades at every level, we wouldn't have the quarterbacks we have now. You know, he wasn't a pocket passer. He was mobile. He was, a larger man on the field than what they had seen before. And the way he understood the game of football on the field as well as off the field. He was an executive for two teams, just retiring in 2015 from the front office. And I think, that is another thing he's also shown that, what, we are proven athletes, no question. Absolutely no question. But we're more than just athletes. We can do the work of an executive. We can help build powerful teams. We can help build great administrations. We are an asset on the field as well as off the field. And I think he's proven that in his career, both on and off the field as well. And I really hope that he gets the recognition, and as they say today, the flowers are given to him now while he's here.
Looking at James Harris, he played in Buffalo for 3 years, started 2 games over there, really didn't get a chance. Then he got waived by Buffalo, and then he ended up in L.A. And I think today, while we're talking about James Harris, we need to give credit to Chuck Knox, a young man that was the head coach of the Rams that took a chance on Mr. Harris. But the thing I think that changed the National Football League and changed somewhat the outlook at the position, you got to go back the 1974 season when James Harris was with the Rams. And you go back to that game back in October. They played the San Francisco 49ers. He made his first start. 12 out of 16, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Rams won that game easy, 37-14. Then he became the starter for the rest of the season. Then he led the Rams into the playoffs and led them to the NFC Championship game, but got the Rams their first playoff victory since 1951 in a win over the Washington Redskins.
Yep.
19-10, and that Redskins team, it had Larry Brown, Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, Mike Bass, Charlie Taylor. And that's when the change of the position kind of changed for the African Americans, playing on that high level in 1974. And everybody said, oh, this young man from Grambling State is what everything we thought when Buffalo took him in the 8th round in the 1969 draft. But based on that, what do you think that him performing at a high level in 1974, and then he became the MVP of the Pro Bowl that year, him having them games right there, what did you think it took him from that point on with his career?
Well, I think, from that point on, and, I think one of the things it did is it showcased his talent, which was evident, that you just spoke about when he was playing at Grambling State. It wasn't a new thing. That's why he was drafted. He had the talent and the skill set. And I think getting the opportunity to showcase that and show the leadership capabilities there just elevated him to the next level. It opened doors for him to be able to transition off the field to the executive level, working in the front office with football personnel, helping to build from there and go from there. So I think that is the turning point. It didn't just showcase his talent on the field, but it helped to open the door for him off the field.
And we already knew when James Harris first came to Grambling State University, he was a star in high school with John Carroll and Monroe. He won 38 straight games. Then we knew he went 24-2 in Grambling. We knew he had that proudness. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't really no surprise to me in 1974, he took his game to the next level. And I think when you look overall and what he did, it was at a time that the position really didn't have a lot of African-American quarterbacks, but it showed me the one thing that you have to play that position, and we can read between the lines, that you had to have toughness, leadership, poise, football intelligence, and then maybe everything else that you had to deal with off the field, because we know what was going on at that time. But that's where I gained the respect for him during that time period, and it just changed the whole complex of the position in the National Football League. Now, when we look at James Harris, moving past his career, you brought up what he done outside his career, and he became a very successful executive. Expound on that a little bit.
I it's hard to just say he was successful executive without mentioning the teams that he was a part of and some of the success. And he helped build that 2001 Baltimore Ravens team to a successful program. And I don't know that we give enough credit to part of that team building, that success, is because you had James Harris in your front office. And you just can't build a team and recruit talent and not having played the game. I think that's an integral part of what he brought to the front office, is he's been down there. He knows what it takes to do it. And in a city in a city and a team like Baltimore, that came in handy. That's one of the benefits, I think, of having someone of his caliber in your front office. And you just alluded to it. The grit and the determination and the discipline that's needed to play in the NFL in the 60s and the 70s. There wasn't a lot of positive traction happening for Black players, let alone Black quarterbacks. And so when you're dealing with hate mail and racism for doing your job that you're getting paid for, that takes a lot of character and determination. I think that's one of the characteristics that made him successful as an executive at the football level, because he was no stranger to it. So the naysayers and the people that didn't always have his back and wanted him to almost fail so they could say, see, this is why we don't need Black people in the front office. He definitely gave him more to think about, because he excelled. He definitely excelled.
I'm gonna leave my final words about James Harris. You look at his career; he had 8,136 yards passed, his QB rating at 67, touchdown interception ratio, 45 touchdowns, 59 INTs. But what I'm gonna remember him about, as I said, the 68 game at a very turbulent time in this country in 1968, following Martin Luther King's assassination, and him playing in that game against Morgan State, a Morgan State team. They had Raymond Chester, had Mark Washington, future NFL players, and then also him having the great teammates he played at Grambling: Leroy Carter, Charlie Joyner, Estes Johnson, Earl Watson, Norman Davis, Wes Beaton. All those great players, Goldie Sellers, all those players went on and played in the league. But he put his stamp, as you just said, on what he did outside the game and building that Super Bowl team that the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2000. We all talk about Ray Lewis, but make no mistake, the players that Mr. Harris, along with the great GM Ozzie Newsome, rolled tide at the University of Alabama. Think about the players that James Harris had a connection to that was on that Super Bowl team. Peter Bolwell, Florida State. Jamie Sharper, Virginia. Kim Herring, Penn State. Dwayne Starks, Miami. Chris McAllister, Arizona. Jamal Lewis, University of Tennessee, go Vols. Travis Taylor, go Gators. Ed Hartwell, Ed Reed, Anthony Weaver, Terrell Suggs. You look at all those players, and all those players, the majority of them became Pro Bowl players. And that's what I'm going to remember about James Harris. Putting his stamp on the field, going through what he had to go through, but also taking it at a high level outside the game. And when we look at this game, where it's college, professional, high school, the ultimate level is winning that ultimate prize, national championship, high school football championship, but most of all, Super Bowl. And James Harris, going on from here, in my mind, is one of the best players with the combination of being an executive that's ever done it at a high level in the National Football League. Ms. Cooper, your final words about your proud alum from Grambling State University, Mr. James Harris.
I think one of my fondest memories of Mr. Harris, because I've had the wonderful opportunity to meet and spend some time with him, is his love of the next generation and how he gives back to us and how he encourages us to stand in there and fight that good fight to make sure that we as a people and a culture continue to progress and move forward. He has been a shining example of how you do that and what you do. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, we've got some very pivotal players that have come from Grambling State University. I think Coach Rob definitely had his finger on the pulse when it came to spotting talent. And for Mr. Harris and Doug Williams to be the founders of the Black College Hall of Fame and that it's housed at the National Football Hall of Fame is amazing. And how they've given back to not just Black colleges, but our culture and our community, and a place and time where we weren't recognized for our contributions. They saw fit to start a Hall of Fame for us to be recognized. And so I think, as we go forward, to remember that we have value and we have integrity in what we do. And that when we step forward and we're acknowledged, not to forget where we've come from, and to understand that we can make a difference in what we're doing. And we can hold our heads high, we can stand tall and not be afraid. We can stand tall and trust that what the Lord has given us to do, we can do and be successful in it. No matter what anybody else says or thinks of us, we can do it. And I really hope that, Mr. Harris gets, his flowers and his opportunity to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's helped make some Hall of Famers and he's played with Hall of Famers. And I think he's in great company to be able to join Hall of Famers.
If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. I'd like to give special thanks to our producer this morning that made it happen, Mr. Jeremiah Long. Yeah. Thank you to the team at 100 Yards Football. My man, Mr. Bobby Butler, Florida State great, drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you. My business partner from Brooklyn, New York, Mr. Ronnie Keebler. My man to Mr. Mark Denham. I'd like to give him special thanks because he had a son that graduated yesterday from West Georgia. Much love, much respect. You did your job, my man. To Mr. Logan Landers, who makes it happen for us on every Wednesday, I want to say thank you. And of course, to the legend, has a son drafted in the first round in the 1991 NFL draft that's been very, very blessful to this show, Mr. Jim Maryland, coming to us live out of Grambling/Ruston, Louisiana.
Yep.
And my final words, all I can say is you see this young man on the screen, stand up and be proud today if you attended Grambling State University.
Yes.
Because this young man was a game changer. Mr. James Harris. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football. Thank you.